Hey, my friend. Welcome back to the Cosmic Mystic. This is our May Sidereal Astrology overview for May 2025. I'm so excited to dive into this month's astrology. What is happening? We've got some big shifts happening this month, and I can't wait to share all of them with you. If you are new here, hello, welcome. We are so glad that you found us. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified every time a new video comes out. We've got our overview forecast, which you're watching right now. We've also got weekly forecasts to really dive into what is happening that week. And then we've got podcast episodes here for the Cosmic Mystic podcast. So you can not only watch this video, but you can also listen to this video if you want to hear it again, maybe dive into some of those insights. Plus, there's so much more on the podcast and on the channel coming around interviews with others who are on the spiritual path, who are stepping out of the matrix and living in their purpose. We've also got more teachings that I'll be putting out this year. So be sure to stay tuned. Oh, and we have our Magic Monday, our weekly resets with Akashic Records channeled message for the week and somatic breathwork. So be sure to check all of that out. I'll make sure there are links to all the things so that you can dive on in. All right, let's begin with our state of the planets as we kick off May 2025. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And as you know, we are almost at the mid-year. We are deep into spring season, and we are still in Aries season. So as we kick off, I'm going to start with our sun right here. Our sun is at 17 degrees Aries. So we're about just over halfway through our Aries season. We've got Chiron over here at 29 degrees. It is about ready to shift out of Pisces, but it is currently in Pisces. Mars is currently here in Pisces at 22 degrees. We've got Neptune here at 6 degrees, Venus here at 6 degrees. We've got Saturn here at 3 degrees Pisces and our North Node in Pisces. So we've still got a lot of that Pisces energy, which we've been talking about all year long, in that energy of endings, things coming to an end. We've also got Pluto over here in Capricorn, our South Node in Virgo, Mars in Cancer. Our moon kicks off this month in Gemini, and Jupiter over here in Taurus at 27 degrees. It's about ready to move into Gemini. We're going to talk about that because that shift is happening this month. And finally, we have Uranus in Taurus. So, my friend, let's dive in to what is happening, where our sun is moving this month. So first off, as I mentioned, we do kick off this month with our sun in Aries, and we will be in the constellation of Aries until May 14th, and then it will shift out of Aries and in to Taurus. So let's talk a little bit, recapping what we've seen with Aries or what we're experiencing with Aries. Aries is a fire energy. It's a starter energy. Its modality is cardinal, which is the beginning, which is the start of something. In tropical astrology, we see Aries kick off with our spring season. In sidereal, we see it come a little bit later. And so it is that beginning energy. It is ruled by the planet Mars and rules over the first house in your astrology chart. So this is the house of self. So there is a lot of putting yourself first, thinking of yourself. And so there might be some of that still lingering where you're working on maybe self identity, self trust, self love, putting self first, which is a big one during Aries season. And what it can show us is putting self first. It's also the beginning of the zodiacal year. We have the start. Aries is the first zodiac. It is the baby of the fire signs, and it is the baby of the zodiac. So in this season, we are starting something new. We are taking action. Plus, there is a lot of energy to burn off because it is that fire energy. Let's just go and do. Now, mid-month, so right here, as I said, on the 14th, it is going to shift out of Aries and is going to shift in to Taurus. So you can see right here around 2 p.m. Central Time in the afternoon, we're going to see it shift into Taurus. Now, Taurus, the sun will move through the Taurus constellation through June 14th. So we'll see that right before we enter Gemini season, right? We'll see that also right before summer solstice. So putting it out there already, we will be shifting out of Taurus into Gemini for summer solstice. Now, let's take a look and let's talk about our sun transitioning into Taurus. And this will be, remember, the later half of May into the beginning half of June. Now, Taurus is the element of earth. So with Aries, it's like we've hit the ground running. We've started this new thing. We're on this new trek. And then we get to Taurus. And Taurus is like, hold up, slow it down. Let's stop. Let's take a breath. Let's make sure things are in order. Let's take a breath. Let's take a break. And so some of the rulerships of Taurus. First off, it's ruled by the planet Venus, which is all about love, beauty, art, money. And so we'll see a lot of those themes starting to come through with Taurus. It also rules over the second house in your natal charts. So second house is, again, a lot of that money, finances, worth, your values, how you value yourself. That's all coming into play in this season. The quality or modality of Taurus is fixed. This is a fixed sign, which means it can really focus in on something to the point that it can get stuck on something and it can't quite see through, right? And so some of the things that we often see with the constellation of Taurus. Now, I am a Taurus sun. My birthday is coming up this month. This is my birthday month. I used to celebrate the entire month. I haven't done that in a while. Maybe we should do that this year. This is the absolute opportunity with Taurus to get fixated on something. And that can be to our detriment, and it can also be very positive in our life. It can actually help us focus in on something maybe that we could be doing for ourselves. Taurus is like, it wants all the comforts. And so maybe sometimes we do need to focus on allowing ourselves to receive the comforts, allowing ourselves to receive money, to receive things, right? A lot of us, I know people that I work with, a lot of the times they are working on this receiving idea and being able to receive in their life. And so Taurus can really be that opportunity for us. Some other things with Taurus is we have the symbol of the Taurus, which is the bull. Now, the bull is determined. The bull is a very independent. It's a hard worker. And so some of the strengths that we're going to see with Taurus is that independent, determined, loyal, patient, and hardworking energy. Some of the challenges, though, is that it is stubborn to a T. As I said earlier, with that fixed modality, it can really dig its feet in and really get stuck on an idea. It can be materialistic, where it is really putting the material things in our life over spirit. And so it's something to always be cautious of as we move through Taurus season is, am I putting the material, meaning gaining the material things or buying the material things to fulfill maybe a spiritual desire that we actually are craving. This can also be very possessive energy, wanting to hold on to things, a form of control, self-indulgent or indulging of things, maybe even gluttonous. And so it's something, Taurus loves its pleasures. It loves to feel into that pleasurable idea, which can also cause some concern, right? Maybe if we are comfortable in our comfy zones, we can get stuck here during Taurus, where we've maybe gone into action in Aries, and now Taurus comes in and it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go back to my comfort zone, right? I'm going to stop taking that action. So during Taurus season, this is a good time to ground in to your own inner strength, to really work on the stability and security. It's one of the things that Taurus craves, is that stability and security in your life. So what you can do is use this season to really work on your inner strength. I'm going to recommend working with your solar plexus, clearing out anything in your solar plexus, really taking the time to ground in your energy, to make sure that you're coming from a place. If you're somebody who can't sit still, right? There's those of us that can't still sit still, and there's those of us that maybe sit still too much, right? So wherever you are in that spectrum, you can work on the opposite. So if you're somebody that can't sit still, this is a great time to ground your energy in, to calm the nervous system, do some somatic practices. We've got our 22-day Breathe with Danie challenge that you can get access to. You can also come to our weekly resets as well to ground in that energy, to release in that beautiful somatic way. Working with essential oils is also really nurturing to Taurus during this season. There's also, if you have not downloaded our spring guidebook, so we now have a spring guidebook that covers the 3 zodiacs within that season, which for sidereal astrology would be Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, where you can learn all about how to use that zodiac season for self-mastery and in your business, things that you can focus on. It's got journal prompts in there for each season. It's actually got journal prompts for each week. It's got rituals that you can do in there, crystals you can work with, essential oils, pairings that you can work with, and so much more. So definitely recommend downloading the guidebook. You can go to thepeaceteacher.com/guidebook and download the guidebook. We've also got all those links and all the things down below. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what other transits are happening this season. Or this month, I should say. So let's go ahead and take a look at where else the sun is going to be, or who the sun is going to be connected to. So those are kind of the overall energies of where the sun's going to be from Aries to Taurus. But let's look at some of the other aspects that are going to take place this month. So first off, we have, as you can see here, this conjunction that we have with Uranus. So if I go back actually a couple of days here, where it begins on the 11th. So the conjunction will start in Aries and then move into Taurus. And most of this conjunction will be in the energy of Taurus. So when we are looking at a conjunction, and remember, a conjunction is simply an aspect that we see in astrology where 2 planets are connecting in a certain frequency, in a certain way. And with a conjunction, this is my favorite to say, that they are hanging out in a home together. Uranus is home, the sun comes to visit and is going to spend a couple of weeks here with Uranus. And so when two planets are in the same home, just like you might be with your roommate or a friend that comes to visit or a family member that comes to visit, you start to share ideas. You start to work together. And that is simply what happens when we have the conjunction. So from May 11th through the 23rd, these two are going to be shacking up. They're going to be hanging out together. And so with Uranus, we always see this fresh kind of new things, new unexpected changes, excitement. There's freedom with Uranus. There's a little rebellion here with Uranus where we're wanting to shake things up. It's like we've been stagnant and we're wanting to do something new. And so we could see this urge to break free from routine, break free from old patterns, break free from old ways of doing things. And we're talking about Uranus here. So this is a collective energy. This is an outer planet, which tends to affect the collective energy more so than we might see. Not to say that it isn't affecting us on a personal level, it is just going to definitely impact us on the outer realms, meaning the collective energy. So you might see some disruptions to the way things have normally been done. So whether you believe in this change or not, my friend, this can happen. And this might be some things that we might be coming through. Now, the really beautiful thing is that we can open up this energy because Uranus does really look at that forward thinking. So we're not playing, I'm gonna stop my share to emphasize this here for you. When I talk about Uranus, we are not playing checkers. Uranus is not playing checkers. Uranus is playing chess. It is looking beyond the next play, beyond the next step. And so we might not be able to see why the current shift may be happening in our life because we might be looking at it from this current lens. I want you to think about this and how this could be something that is the chess move. How this thing that might interrupt your life, that might change the day to day, that might disrupt the normal pattern is one, maybe trying to get you back on your path of where your heart's desire is. Number two, it could be something that is bringing you back to self, bringing you back to you, to your authenticity. Uranus is all about freedom of expression and authenticity. So we could be coming, right? Back where maybe is this thing that has just been disrupted? Where was I maybe holding my voice back? Right? This is something we can look at here. So I want you to consider as things may be a little bit disruptive and it may feel overwhelming. This is why we've got that Taurus energy to ground in, my friend. Unexpected change. I want you to see the possibilities in the change. How is this in my favor? How is this working for me? Because everything is always working for you. I know you know that. I'm just here to remind you. All right, here we go. Next, let's look at the next transit. And that is going to be with our Sun and Saturn. So we're going to come over here to the 13th, right before the Sun moves into Taurus. So the Sun making the sextile over here to Saturn. Now, Saturn is also one of our outer planets, which is why I like to talk about these because it not only affects us personally, but also the collective. And this one will also be here for a couple of weeks till the 26th of May. Saturn is our planet of discipline, of patience, of delayed gratification. So when we're talking about Saturn and when we're talking about a sextile, they actually work really well together. It's like a good friend, right? It's like we can collaborate together. We can share ideas together. It's not so close as the conjunction where like we're immersed with each other, but we're good friends, right? We can help each other out. So the sun being the consciousness and Saturn being that energy of discipline, patience, we're going to see some discipline coming in, some determination coming in, support in maybe the shifts that are happening with Uranus, giving us the intellectual thoughts, the problem solving abilities, so that we can work through the things that may be shifting. This another really good aspect of this is our relationships. And because we're talking about Taurus, who is ruled by Venus, we can resolve some of these conflicts that maybe we've been challenged with. Maybe there's been some struggle here, and we can start to have some respect for these relationships that are serving us. So, hear me out when I say this. There are always relationships that we need to cut off, and there are relationships that maybe we're having some challenges with at the moment, but we know for the long haul, these are relationships that are serving our greatest and highest good. Absolutely, those are some energies of some relationships that we can foster and resolve some of these conflicts. This is also an aspect that is about hard work and determination. So if there's something maybe that you've been struggling with, this aspect here is going to give us that boost to, okay, like let's get down to work. Let's get these things in order. I was talking with somebody today who in fact was saying like, I'm working on, getting my act together, right? Getting my stuff together. And I loved that as an affirmation for somebody who feels like their stuff is all over the place, right? And I think that's a really great affirmation of like, I'm learning to get my stuff, or I'm on my way to get my stuff together, right? I'm working towards this thing. And that's what this energy feels like. All right, let's step into the next one that is happening, which is with Pluto. So the Sun and Pluto are going to come together and meet here on the 18th in what is called a trine. A trine, you can see here, we have the Sun and we have Pluto. A trine is where both of these zodiac signs or both of these planets are in the same element zodiacally. So from this perspective, we've got Pluto in Capricorn and we've got the Sun in Taurus. These are both earth elements. So these are very supportive in that very grounding, nurturing energy. When we're looking at Pluto, Pluto happens to be the planet of transformation. It is small but mighty. It is very powerful. There's a lot of intense and depth to Pluto. So we could potentially see here deep, intense experiences. These are clearing some maybe frequencies, energies, clutter that might be not only within our physical environment, because we're talking about Taurus here and that earth element, but also within our energetic and mental spaces. So we're clearing some clutter here. We are transforming some things. We are moving things out of the way. This is also a time where your own power, your own influence can be very supportive in helping other people, helping others. I would also say with this transit, transformational energy. If you are looking to transform something within your life, a belief, an idea, an experience, this is a really, really beautiful time because those energies are connected and can support you. All right. Next up, all right, let's talk about our full moon and new moon coming up this month. So, first off, let's talk about the full moon in Libra. So, on May 12th, we will see early afternoon, 11:57 a.m. Central Time, our full moon in Libra. So, this is where we have the balance of the energy of Aries and the energy of its opposition, which is Libra. So let's talk a little bit about that because Aries and Libra, Aries is the self. And Libra is partnership, connection, collaboration. And so there's these opposing ideas that how are we putting ourselves first and how are we partnering, asking for assistance, getting help, so to speak. So we might be somebody who is not relying on ourselves, but more so relying on others. And it's a time for us to look at that and say, how can I become more independent? Or vice versa. Maybe I am super independent that I don't ask for help. And so there is this theme that we see whenever we have the Libra full moon. But there are some aspects, as you can see, that are indeed kind of really making this full moon, even like if we really dive into it a little bit more, we can see the conjunction with the sun over here and the opposition with the moon. So when we see the opposition with the moon, this is independence versus support. So this is the need for independence, which is in conflict or can be in conflict with our desires, especially as we look at emotional support. So there might be a subconscious need for change, right? That might push us into doing something different, doing something out of the norm, doing something that might be considered our unusual behavior, right? This isn't the scheduled programming. It's a little bit different. This, I would say, my friend, is not the time to make some big life changes. Maybe there's a preparation for something happening, but not like I'm going to quit my job and do this new thing, right? Like, or I am going to move across the country, right? Or move to another country. Like, so we want to also look at being adaptable and flexible because there could be some things that are coming up that, again, whenever we're dealing with Uranus, these are unexpected, these are quick, sudden changes that could be impacting us. Now, a couple of other things that we see here is we see this trine over here to the north node and the sextile over here to the south node. So both of those, north node being our direction, our soul's growth and evolution, where we're headed in this lifetime, and our south node being more of our past, what's comfortable, what we know, what experiences we've had in other lifetimes. So these two here are really coming into play because one is in Pisces and one is in Virgo. We are seeing more emotional growth here. This is where we can align with the purpose, the destiny, where we're headed, receiving that intuitive guidance, paying attention to our dreams, paying attention to those intuitive hits, and taking time to maybe slow down so that you can hear those intuitive hits. We also see with the South Node, we're going to see some reflection on past experiences, past relationships, maybe even that maybe are either no longer serving us and it's time for us to let them go, or there's a revisiting as there's something new to be understood or another layer, right? Another layer, an old pattern that is maybe coming up that is connected to maybe some type of past relationship. All right, let's talk about the new moon that is coming on the 26th. And this is late in the evening. We're talking about 10 o'clock on the 26th. And this is going to be our new moon here in Taurus. So Taurus being, that very stubborn energy. It's very much wants to dig its feet in. So let me show you here what this particular new moon looks like. So we've got the conjunction over here with Mercury, and we've also got the sextile of both Saturn and Neptune as they are conjunct, and this trine over here to Pluto. So when we're looking at Taurus in a new moon capacity, we are looking at our stability, our security, our comfort, our value. Finances is always something that comes up with Taurus. Because we have these aspects here, especially with this Mercury really influencing, right? Because Mercury has definitely come and we're all hanging out, right? The sun, the moon, and Mercury all hanging out together. We're bringing more, there's more sensitivity here. There's more changeability here. There's a lot of emotional connection here. So close emotional bonding, reminiscing with family, things that are nurturing, like activities or events that are more nurturing. We're wanting to like connect more. There's a lot of strong emotional attachment to people, to places, to things with this particular new moon. So this could be like we're reminiscing, right, about the past. Now, we have to be careful with that sometimes because our thoughts on the past can sometimes take us back somewhere, maybe that we don't want to be any longer. But it also can allow us the opportunity to see what has been possible in that old thing. Or maybe there's a part of us that is still connected in some way. And maybe there's some cords, right, that maybe need to be cut. We also have the two sextiles with the conjunction here of Saturn and Neptune. With Neptune, this is again bringing in some more of that intuitiveness, that emotional energy, psychic abilities, dream work, imagination. Saturn is, more of that emotional maturity and stability, bringing us that discipline, bringing us the practical, persistent type energy, that dependable, more trustworthy energy. So if you're looking at maybe some themes around this particular new moon, I would say we're looking at what do you need to let go of? What old relationships, what old emotional connections do you need to let go of to feel more secure and stable? With Pluto, we're talking about more on, it's a little bit obviously deeper, intense, more intense. This is where we can really look deep into ourselves and dig up some of the things that we could still be connected to that maybe aren't the best thing for us to be connected to as it relates to that stability and security in our life. Sometimes I hear people say things like, oh, I still follow this person on social media, or people still tell me about this person. And those are energetic connections that you still have with this person, whether you are interacting with this person on a day to day or not, you are still very much energetically connected, and it still could be draining some of your energy and not really allowing you to show up fully and completely. All right, let's move on to our next planet, which is Mercury. And there's quite a few because Mercury does move quite fast. And so it's going to hit, Jupiter, Chiron, Pluto, Mars, Uranus throughout this entire month. But what I really, really want to focus on in particular is going to be the transition out of out of Aries and into Taurus. So as we can see here, it's at 8 degrees Taurus. So we're going to go back here to the first of the month where you can see Mercury is in Pisces. It's going to move. We're going to move this along here so you can see. It's going to move out of Pisces into Aries here on the 6th. on the 6th of May. Now, Mercury in Aries, first off, is going to be a little quick thinking. It's going to act first, so it's going to respond first. It's a little bit more impulsive, so our thoughts and our communication are a little bit more impulsive, and we might make more quick decisions than we have. Now, with this conjunction here with Chiron, this could be making some haste decisions, especially as it relates to some old wounds. And it can also, on the flip side of that, allow us to move through some of those woundings that might be coming up pretty quickly, like, oh, I'm done. I'm over this. This is it. We're done. And we're moving forward, which is a really, really beautiful thing. And we'll see this come in on the 3rd through the 10th. So about that week, 7 days in there, which will be really, really nice as Mercury moves into Aries there. And then as Mercury continues on, we'll see it going through, moving pretty much 1 degree every single day until we get towards the end of the month. You'll see the conjunction happen over here with Uranus, and right here on it's early on the 23rd, we're going to see Mercury move into Taurus. So Mercury's not only going to move into Aries this month, it's also going to move into Taurus here towards the end of the month. And as we've talked about Taurus at the beginning of this video, that is a much more grounded sign. It's a much more determined sign. And so our thinking and our communication, which is what Mercury rules over, is going to come more grounded, more stable. It's going to be more intentional. There's going to be more, it's going to be more connected, where Aries is like moving through fast. So we might make some very haste decisions at the beginning of the month. And then it's like, oh, let's just evaluate what we just did, right? When Mercury moves into Taurus. So keeping the communication much more grounded, much more intentional than we did with Aries. All right. And that will be in all the way through the end of the month into the very, very beginning of June. June 5th actually is when it will move out of Taurus and into Gemini, which is its home sign. And we'll talk more about that as we get closer to June. All right, so let's talk now about Mars and what Mars is up to this month. So we're going to come back to the beginning here. And you'll see that Mars is in Cancer. Mars entered Cancer on April 3rd and will be in Cancer all the way through May until June 6th. So we will see both Mars and Mercury change signs in June. All right, so some of the things that we are seeing here with Mars, and there's a couple I really want to point out, and that is the Mars trine Neptune that we see right here. We saw this come in April, and this is going to be till just the very beginning of May. We're going to see that one fall off. And we're not going to really see, we're also going to see this opposition here with Pluto until about the 10th of the month. That will then fall off. And we're not going to see Mars connect really with anybody until the very, very end of the month. On the 29th, we're going to see Mars making its trine over here to Chiron. Now, we do have that connection with Venus that we've had since the end of March, and we'll see all the way through June. But I want to talk about this Mars with Chiron for just a second, because it is going to be pretty much through most of June, all the way till June 21st. So from May 29th to June 21st, we're going to see, you know, Chiron is the wounded healer. It is our wounds. And so this healing idea is now being met with action, with moving forward. And so this is really empowering us to confront some of the emotional or physical wounds, being much more assertive, have much more courage to really move through these. Now, if there was ever a time to do some healing work, my friend, this aspect right here is so beautiful for this, because we've got that emotional connection here with Mars, allowing the emotions to be able to come forward and being able to move through them really beautifully with that trine to Chiron. All right, now I want to take a look at Venus. So you can see there's not too much happening with some of these planets. They've been kind of in these patterns for a while now, especially some of our, slower planets. We haven't even gotten to our outer planets, which I can't wait to tell you about in just a bit. But there is a few things there's a couple of new transits I want to talk about, or aspects I want to talk about, that are happening here. And so, as you can see with that Venus and Chiron, as I mentioned, so let's talk about that. That comes into play here on the 26th. You'll see these are conjunct. So, this is also coming into a play with this trine with Mars. So, I'll tie this little piece in for you here. Chiron is, again, our wounds, right? And so we're talking about the Venus energy, which is love, beauty, and money. So those three ideas right there: love, beauty, money. You can also come into the idea of value, your worth, how valuable you feel. Wounds around that could be coming forward here at the end of May. Again, tie this with that connection to Mars in moving forward. So if there is some money healing that needs to be done, some relationship healing, some self-love, self-trust that is needing some work, this right here, my friend, is a really, really beautiful time, because these guys are all working together. They're hanging out. As I said before, they're hanging out together at a home. Venus comes to visit Chiron, and we deal with some of the things that maybe we haven't dealt with just yet. I also say that because if you're somebody who is not, and let's say maybe you aren't, because I know you're doing the work, my friend, but you might have people in your world that aren't doing the work, and this may be coming up for them. They may be getting triggered by certain things that are happening. And I want you to be aware of that. It's like, oh, okay, this person is like my new phrase, my friend, new phase. Your trigger is showing. I hear people say things sometimes and I'm like, oh, your trigger showing, right? Like when you do the work, you can start to see like, this person got triggered by something, has nothing to do probably with you, but it's their own internal thing that is happening. So let's give some people some grace here, because there could be some things at the end of the month here, might be a little bit of a struggle for some people. All right, and the last one with Venus that I want to point out is at the very, very edge here on the 28th, we're going to see this sextile come into play with Jupiter. Now, whenever we're talking about Jupiter, it is going to make things bigger and grander. It is going to grow whatever is currently there. Now, Jupiter being such a optimistic, social, fun energy, we're bringing Venus and Jupiter together in this really supportive way, that this, my friend, is all about having some fun, socializing, connecting with friends, feeling good. One of the challenges is that it's all fun, no work, which I really find is very interesting. This happens every single year. This is where we are moving into summer, right? We're moving into that summer season, are coming to an end, and we are all about hanging out with friends, connecting, being more social. This is where a lot of travel, right? People start to travel, go barbecues, pool parties, all the things. The weather's great, right? So this is that energy, is I want to go have fun. I want to go hang out with friends. I don't necessarily want to do the work. And so there could be a lot more of a struggle here to work, because we want to play. The other thing is a tendency toward excessiveness, maybe indulging more than maybe you should, and that whether that's coming from maybe eating things that you shouldn't be eating or are not best for your body, or maybe even things that are like an excess of buying. I'm buying things because, right, well, we know buying things is because we probably are trying to fulfill a need in some way, shape, or form. But this could also be an excess of the negative habits maybe that we have, excessive TV. Maybe we're watching too much TV and keep saying we have no time to read or no time to meditate, but we can watch and binge watch that Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, whatever you watch, like no other. All right, the final things I want to talk about is Chiron moving into Aries and Jupiter moving into Gemini. So oh, and Pluto going retrograde. Those are the three outer planets that we want to talk about. So I do want to touch on Chiron right here. That is moving into, and let me share my screen so you can see what I see. Chiron does move in to Aries on the 3rd of May. So on the 3rd of May, we're going to see this shift. Let me go back here to the 3rd so you can see where Chiron moves out of Pisces and into Aries. Now, this is a time when our wounds are they're coming forward, our core wounds in and around our personal power. Our wounds around identity, our wounds around courage, our wounds around our self-worth. And the question here becomes, who am I and what am I fighting for? What beliefs, and I want you to bring this in here, what beliefs about myself am I fighting for? Am I fighting for this belief that I have had about myself for eons that maybe it's not serving me? This is where healing is going to be best through action, because Aries thrives in action. So making time to step into your own personal transformation is key. This isn't a passive, let me just journal this out. No, let's get in there and let's move this energy through you. You can let go of some of those old woundings again, because they like to resurface here, especially around that, right? That wounds around identity, who you are, your strength, your courage, your self-worth, who you are, what you're bringing to the table. Now, those of you that were born between the years of 1968 to 1977 are probably going to be experiencing your Chiron return, which is something that happens. It's a major life transition around 50 to 51, somewhere in that time. So if you are coming into the age of 50, 51, 49, 52, it could range in there as well. You are going through some deep healing. There's ego work. There is soul alignment. A lot of the times, a lot of my clients will come to me around this period because they're feeling like something is missing in their life and they're wanting to regain something. And that's exactly what happens right here. It's like, I want to pursue my dreams. I want to move forward, but there's this stuff, this baggage that I've been carrying for the past 50 years, the past 20 years, the past 30 years that I'm done with, right? New forms of healing and medicine may be coming through during this time, especially as we move through Aries. So innovations around our medical field. Now, this excites me because we've got some really beautiful energies or alternative medicine codes that are coming through that we're going to see really emerge over the next 8 to 9 years as Chiron moves through Aries. So this is super exciting. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is Jupiter. Jupiter is going to move into Gemini on May 14th. So it's going to move out of Taurus, where it's been really affecting money in a very big way over the past year. We've seen this with lots of digital currency coming through, the way we are working with money, the way we are working with others with money. Now it's coming into Gemini. Now, Gemini is very curious energy. It's communication. It's in the pursuit of knowledge. And so this time is really going to be about expanding our own skill sets, connecting, sharing ideas. And so we may see changes in the way in which we do that. Now, because communication these days is done a lot through social media, through technology, we're going to see a rise here. Now, we've seen a huge rise come up with AI over the past year. We're going to see even more come through in the next year, almost as if it's going to be a rapid advancement in technology, media, and the way information is consumed and shared in this next year. Now, my recommendation is to stay adaptable, to stay flexible, to be open to learning the new things. I think if you're somebody that kind of gets stuck in the mud about, well, this is the way you do it and this is the way we've always done it, that may not be the best approach, but to learn like, what is this? So I know how to work with it, right? I may not be 100% for AI, but I do use AI and I'm learning how to use it and what it's like and what it's doing and what it's capable of. So I understand it, not because I'm afraid of it, but because I want to understand what it is and how it works and how it is coming into our world. So I know where I want to put my boundaries with it, where how I want to choose to work with it. But I can't just say, oh, I don't want to work with AI. I have to know what it is in order to be able to make that decision, right? So the other really beautiful thing that I'm really forecasting, the guardians have really been sharing this with me as I've been asking about what are we going to see in this transition, and that is more in person connection. I think we as a collective have been craving connection for quite a few years now. It was almost as if we had, a few years where we were very much deprived of that. And we've still kind of been coming out of it. But more so than ever now, I've been seeing more and more people wanting to gather in person, to feel each other's energy, in a room together. And so if you are a business owner, I'm going to say this next year, we're really going to see a big expansion in more in-person gatherings. And they may not be these huge gatherings. They may be small, more intimate gatherings is what I've been feeling into. My friend, this has been your Sidereal Astrology Forecast for the month of May. I would love to hear down below in the comments. Let me know what you're excited about for May, what your intentions are for May. If you are excited about this Jupiter transition into Gemini, Chiron moving into Aries, or anything that we talked about in this video. I also want to remind you about the spring guidebook. If you have not downloaded the spring guidebook, it is absolutely free. And we talk about the energy of Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. It's got tons of information in there for you to navigate this season. And we will have a summer one coming out in June. So prepare for that to come as well. My friend, stay connected here. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know that you enjoyed this and share it with somebody that you think could benefit from this information. Look out for an episode on the podcast all about Taurus season when we get into Taurus, and then stay tuned for our weekly Sidereal Astrology Forecast that come out every single Monday about the astrology of that week. Until next time, my friend, remember to keep shining your unique light.